and it's the Table Breakers. They've done it again.
Is this the biggest panel we've ever had on, Jason?
One day you'll have a guy throwing mid-70s, and next week you have a guy throwing 55-mile fastballs.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Ballcaps and Bagpipes. I am your host, Danny Quinn for the Glasgow Comets, and I'm joined by an array of other hosts here. Start with newcomer of the year 1998, John McKellar. How you doing, John?
It's good to be here for one last show. I hope you're doing well, Danny. Lovely tash.
Yeah, thank you, Matt. I haven't decided whether I look like a village person, a suspect janitor, or a real Yankee yet, but I'm working on it. It'll all be fine.
It goes well with the uniform, mate.
Another co-host, Jason Dare, Baseball Scotland Hall of Famer. How you doing, Jason? You all right?
Doing great. John's last show should be a good one to wrap up on.
And he's decided to shoot this for the Kelvin Grove Art Gallery, as you can see in the background there by all those paintings. Looking lovely, John. I did think there was an Encanto picture in the background, but I must have been mistaken.
There might have been for a brief moment there, but I did move it.
Right, fair enough.
I've got a reputation to uphold.
A stellar one of that. And of course, we're joined by frequent visitor and league president Paul Convoy. How you doing, Paul? You all right?
I'm good, Danny. Thanks very much. How are you?
Yeah, good, man. Good. Doing well. I think we're going to just use this episode to sort of recap the sort of we've missed 2 games since our last recording, and that was both the cup finals. So I think what we'll probably do is just sort of recap the season and the awards night. So we had our awards night last week in the Savings Bank in Glasgow. How did you enjoy your night, Paul? You looked right at home in your 1920s get up. I think that's an era you would have thrived in. How did you enjoy your night?
It's probably the most comfortable dressed at any of these events, if I'm honest. I thought the whole night was fantastic. The Glasgow committee put on a fantastic event. The venue was amazing. The team was amazing. The atmosphere was amazing. And yeah, it was a really good night. And for once, I didn't have to organise it, so I could put my feet up and just enjoy the night.
Yeah, the food was amazing and all. I thought, like, we've got the pasta and the lasagna and stuff like that. These things you forget how much coordination they take. But really, a big shout out should go to Fiona and Rebecca, because they were talking about this awards night back in March and what they were wanting to do for it. So they put a power of effort behind getting it organised and seemed to run really smoothly and really well. So, John, you were also there, but your face was a bit blurry to me, so I thought you were pretty drunk. I didn't approach you. How did you enjoy your night?
It was great, yeah. I thought the stand-up comedian, Jay Lafferty, who I think Andy Vaughan arranged, our teammate Andy managed to arrange that. She was fantastic. She was hilarious, and she got things off to an amazing start, I thought. The award ceremony itself, I think, was great in terms of it was slightly different how it was done. Normally, I think, Paul, you have to take a lot of the load on, but you kind of managed to get a better kind of chance to enjoy it, I think, a bit more, where the presenters of the awards were different each time, and that was pretty cool and a unique way to do things. I was really proud of so many Comets as well who won awards. Obviously, Roberto, who basically cleaned house. Yourself, Danny, you won a Silver Slugger and the Gold Glove at the AAA level. Of course, the AAA MVP was a Comet as well, and the big one for me, as you know, was lifting a national championship for the first time after playing 11 seasons. That's an experience that's going to be with me for the rest of my life. I think it was such a great night.
Yeah, it really was. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and we'd kindly asked Edinburgh not to come over and embarrass us by asking for salt and sauce in any chip shops, and they kindly done that, so that was good. We appreciated the effort. As is the way with these things, because they're awards and they're public, they're voted by the league and things like that. I always do feel that there's people that are probably overlooked, or just with the nature, of the voting and things like that. Like, you can't win every award. I'll come to you first, Paul. Was there anyone that you thought can think about or thought about that had a really good season that is I guess maybe not appreciated or captured at those awards?
If you look at the breakdown who won the awards, it was very Glasgow heavy, and a lot of the feeling might be towards that. The Cannons went unbeaten. Ayport went and finished second. They won the cup. But at the end of the day, every single player that's nominated deserves to win an award because they're nominated for it. And no matter how the vote breaks down, you're never going to please all the people all the time. I felt that every single person that won an award was deserving, and I felt if you were nominated for an award, you were also deserving. And that's the message that people should be taking away for this.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. I think for me, I noticed that. I think over in Tayport, Ryan Mandala had a really special season. He was really tricky to hit against, and he fields well and he hits well. He's just a really good player. And then in Edinburgh, you had guys like Kit and Peter, especially pitching. The Cannons all year just had really, really strong pitching. And obviously Federico picked up the Pitcher of the Year award. So I don't know. I want to shout out a few guys. I personally thought competing against them was pretty difficult and pretty traumatic and horrific for me to do that on a Sunday, embarrass myself like that, try to hit off these guys. But big shout out to everyone. John, what about you? Did you feel any thoughts on that? Anyone you feel either in the comments or the Galaxy or think maybe wasn't captured?
I felt that maybe the Knights were a wee bit underrepresented in the single A in terms of the awards one, because I think they actually had a better season than most realised, I think, because of how good the Comets were this year. And obviously Tayport weren't far behind for most of the year, but there's a few folk on the Knights that I think can probably feel hard done by because they had a pretty excellent season as well in single A. In terms of Triple A, I didn't see a whole lot of Triple A this year, so I wouldn't really be able to comment too much there, but certainly, like Paul's touched on there, the Cannons became the first team ever to go unbeaten in a Triple A season in Baseball Scotland. And I think with that in mind, you would have expected them to take a lot more hardware home with them.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it's just, I would have loved to have the time to go through the nominees and winners of every award. We just don't have the time to do that tonight, unfortunately, but a big, massive congratulations to everyone that did pick up an award and everyone that got nominated, as Paul said, it was thoroughly deserved. I touch upon this season a wee bit with you, Paul, because it was a season of many firsts. That's what I noticed. Obviously, you had the Cannons that had the first unbeaten season. We had over at the Comets with David Flores pitched the first no-hitter. And then we had the first mass refusal to come to Glasgow unless there was going to be tacos from every other team that was kicking about there, which was a welcome thing too. What's really stood out for you this season?
I think the step up in quality, especially at the AAA level at the top of the league, where I genuinely feel that the Cannons went unbeaten, but none of them were super easy games. There was a lot of times where they won by 2 or 3 runs and the other team gave them a hell of a fight. And I think any team at their strongest can compete with any other team at their strongest. I think that's one of the big things we're seeing. And then another big thing that I've loved this year is the level of play in the single A. I really wish we were at the level and participation levels where we could split it further, but we're not there quite yet. But yeah, I mean, there's players in that single A that I don't think it's fair to call it single A anymore. It's definitely single A, double A. And that's something we're going to be looking at during the league discussion at the start of the season or before the start of the season.
Yeah, it's definitely improved over the past few years, and to be honest, that's exactly what you hoped would happen. I mean, nobody really wants to compete in games that are a blowout or so one-sided or not competitive. And the fact is that we're having this discussion now, I think, is probably just a testament to how the single A has done its job. It's created pathways for players to get in, to develop, to get better at the game, and what we've seen as a result of that is really tight, close knit contests. And I will say, a lot of the guys were coming to me in the comments and talking about their hitting and that they weren't hitting as well as they were last year, and I was saying the pitching's just improved. Like, everyone's got better because you get better with experience, and that's exactly the kind of thing you want to see. So, absolutely agree with you. Let's talk about the Tripoli final then. Obviously, we had such a closely contested game where Tayport bested the Cannons, giving them their first loss of the season, and what was truly a tremendous game, just an insane sort of game where they won 7-6. Now, I looked back at the episodes that we had of this type of post-award ceremony chat that we had last year, and we had a quote for you saying that the semi-final you saw between the Cannons and Tayport was the best game of baseball you ever saw in Scotland in 2022. I'd like to know if the one that you saw in 2023 is up there in terms of that level.
It's hard to compare it. I still believe that game last year was probably the best one, just the high level of play. But looking back at the final, it had drama and intensity for both teams. I mean, the Cannons tied it up at a grand slam. Like, you can't write that. It's just, and then the Tayport won it in the last inning. You know, it was a cracking game of baseball, and you can go back and watch it on BSU KTV if you saw, like, with our great commentary team of Ewan and Chris there, which we're hoping to do more of for more games next year.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. I wasn't at the game. Did you manage to get down to the final, Jason?
No, unfortunately, I didn't.
Nah, you're not down. I watched it, and you're right. The pitching was absolutely sublime from both sides. The fielding and just the, going from 4 runs down to that grand slam. Dingleys and home runs in Scotland are just such a rarity that when you see them, it's special. But to see a grand slam in the final to tie the game and completely, flip that momentum, it just felt like, to me, watching it, then I think the commentators commented on it, like, just gave Edinburgh, the Cannons, that bit of belief, and it seemed like the momentum had shifted their way. But Tayport are, and have proven that they're, up there with anyone on their day, and, demonstrated that once again. They are getting a degree in comeback wins at this point, but I think at times they do it. But yeah, what an amazing game. Were you umpiring for it, Paul?
No, I was a scorekeeper. I passed those duties on to the more experienced umpire crew.
What was it feeling like down there? What was it feeling like from both the Tayport and from Edinburgh Cannons?
Oh, it was tense. Yeah, I could feel the passion and the desire to win for both benches. We were sat in the middle on the camera side and at the score table, so I could sort of get the feeling for both benches. It was good. I loved it.
Yeah. No, a great game of baseball. It really was, and as you said, it can be viewed again. So a really good advert for the game, in fact. And just Tayport and Cannons have been such tough opponents throughout the year that it's always a pleasure to see them, but a pleasure to see them play each other rather them than me. But really, really good to watch that final. We had the single A final as well, which was Tayport against ourselves, the Glasgow Comets. Again, Tayport managed to get out the win in that one, doing what they done last year. You were umpiring for that game, Paul. What was your thoughts on that final?
One of the things that stood out was the time of the game. It was a quicker game than the Tripoli final was, about 45 minutes. So both the same length innings. It was a real show for the single A baseball, and to me, it kind of demonstrated what the single A league's all about, where you play the league games to develop your players, and then come the postseason, that's when you put your best players in the field to actually want to win games. That's what it's all about, and the two teams, hats off to both of them. It was a cracking game.
Yeah, it was a good game. John, you also played in that game. How did you find it, the sort of atmosphere in the final and things like that?
For me, after that injury that I received up in Tayport early in the season, it was kind of important for me to get back in time for the end of the year so that I could potentially get to play in the postseason. And I was thrilled to finally be able to play my first ever playoff game in that final. It was an experience and a half. It was a hell of a game to play. Like we went down by quite a few runs and we started to sort of make a bit of a comeback. But I called Jason West the Jose Mourinho of postseason baseball in Scotland. He just knows how to get his team firing on all cylinders in big games. And they were able to hold on. I think it was an 8-6 final score that they took that by. A great experience. And after winning the league title in single A, and only losing once all year to them, it would have been amazing to get that win back in the biggest stage that we have in single A. But you come up against a juggernaut when you face the Breakers in the postseason, and it was a hell of a game of baseball to play. Everybody gave it 100% effort, I think, on both sides, and that's what you can ask for, is maximum effort at all times from everyone involved. That's what you go to the postseason for. Hell of an advert, like you say, Paul. It was a great advert for single A baseball.
Yeah, it was a great game, to be honest. I should probably give a special shout out to Juno, because I felt that Juno was such a huge difference maker for Tayport's side.
100%.
We just didn't hit Juno well at all. It's been a common thing. He throws a lot of breaking pitches, a lot of curveballs, and it looks absolutely beautiful coming out his hand. But when we wanted to take that advantage of driving up some runs early, we just couldn't break through. And again, standard of pitching in the single A is taking a tremendous jump in the past couple of years, and having this opportunity where players can play in the postseason and they get to see really good pitchers and they have that experience of operating under pressure, it's really, really valuable, because ultimately what these guys are trying to do in the single A is earn a place in the Triple A, and the Triple A is always quite tense. It's always a battle. There are no really any easy games in the Triple A. So we ultimately want guys to be feeling comfortable under pressure, and it's a good platform for it. So a massive congratulations firstly to Tayport for being the first. Am I right in saying they're the first team to win back-to-back Caledonia Classics?
Yeah. Yes, they are. Yes. Yeah. I mean, not as the single A was the first time was last year. So they're the only winners of that twice. But yeah, the first back-to-back winners. Yeah.
Not only back-to-back winners, but back-to-back doubles as well. They won both cups last year also. Yeah. Which I think is a feat that it's unlikely we're going to see anytime soon again. That is outstanding. Like, because he won 3 trophies last year. And then 2 this year. That is a haul that's been unheard of in the time I've been playing baseball in Scotland.
Shinya also joined Sylvan and winning it 3 times.
That's right. Yeah.
Just I mean, a great team. That's Tayport. They're just a well-oiled machine, and on their day, Triple A or Single A, they can compete with anyone. They were a really good team, and we were almost a very good team on our day, which I'm sure you can appreciate, Paul, as a Phillies fan who are also almost a very good team.
Thanks, that.
So,
the Phillies were almost back-to-back World Series champions in 2008 and 9, mate. Give them their due.
Listen, your Comets were almost back-to-back champions in 2022 and 2023, but we lost both cup finals, so there you go. It happens. So when you look at the league tables, Paul, for like last year to this year and the sort of accolades, the only real difference is that the Comets won the Single A league. We had Tayport take both the cups, and we had the Cannons take the league in a sort of consecutive years. Are we seeing this sort of era of baseball in Scotland where competition is really heavy at the top? Or do you think it's going to sort of even out, over the next few years? That, in your experience, obviously you guys have been in this league a lot longer than I have. Understand, like, it's usually a 3-year period, isn't it? The Galaxy, 3 years, and then the Cannons and the Devils and things like that. What do you think going forward? Do you see it becoming more competitive throughout the league?
I think so. I mean, I'm sure Jason will agree with this, that the top teams always go through cycles, as you've said, and it's based on players that spend time in Scotland and then leave again. But with the single A league and the way we're sort of trying our best to develop players, because that's the whole point of single A, is the focus is on developing future players. And if we keep doing it that way, we will get to a more steady, competitive game year in, year out, because you're not going to have to rely on this superstars coming through for their uni term or, you know, their 3-year job or whatever else. So.
Yeah, exactly what Paul said. I mean, back in the day, it was like, all right, which uni students are here for a couple of years? You know, where can we find the doctorate students that are going to be here for 4 years studying and used to play baseball? You know, what's been done and accomplished the last few years is amazing. You know, you actually have a feeder league that brings people up. So I think, you know, you're still going to have your strong teams, but you're going to see the level of play just even increase more than it has now.
Yeah. No, it's definitely an exciting time, and I think that you're right. It's all dependent who turns up in January for which club a lot of the time, isn't it? But it's it's fairly interesting to see consistency across the league for these teams. It's the hardest thing to get, isn't it? To consistently be good and consistently win, even throughout the season. Never mind doing that for 2 or 3 seasons. So interesting. Going into next season then, Paul, what you kind of alluded to it and touched upon it a wee bit, but what are some of the things that you think you're keen to review or change in any way, or what changes can we expect to see? And I'm aware that there's a sort of board behind you. You don't make the decisions yourself. Otherwise, I'm sure you would join me in campaigning for tacos at every ballpark we have in Scotland. But what kind of things will be brought up for discussion with the board, do you think?
It's hard to say. I mean, the suggestions I've got that I want to take forward are how we look at the single AAA league participation. I want to have a look, see if it's possible to factor in some sort of series of games into the playoffs, so we're not relying on just the one knockout game. I think it would build excitement and give more players more opportunities. I mean, I just try to look at things. How do I get more people playing more baseball? I try to look at that every year. So.
Yeah. No, that's fair enough. One of the things we probably didn't mention, which I know you spoke a wee bit about the awards night, and I don't know if you were on here to speak about it afterwards, but we were successful this year in down south in the Battle of Britain, weren't we? Coming in 3rd place, I believe. So can you talk to us a wee bit about that, just as a sort of highlight of 2023, what we sort of went through, how you found it?
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't the Battle for Britain this year. It was the British Baseball Summer Cup hosted by the BBF. Battle for Britain's a separate tournament hosted by the Kent Buccaneers, which we were unable to make this year. But yeah, we were down at Farnham Park, which I want every player in Scotland to have an opportunity to play there at least once in their life, because it's a fantastic facility. We were lucky enough to have 2 games on Diamond 2, which is the one that's at the professional level. You know, MLB had their showcase event in the UK for the under 18s, I believe. I could be wrong there. In Europe. But yeah, I love taking a representative league team down to these events, because when we take our best players down, we are amongst the best teams in Britain. And tournament baseball, the format doesn't always allow you to fully benefit from having the best team. It's all about those 2-3 innings. But we played that first game before the rain came and ruined the rest of the weekend against Liverpool Trojans. That was one of when we won that game, it was probably the happiest moment in my baseball career, if you can call that. You know, Miguel hitting in the winning run with Federico crossing the plate. And there's some cracking photos of John Lind to capture that moment. I mean, if you manage to see these photos, they capture the moment perfectly. There's one of me kissing Miguel right in the head. It's my favourite photo on baseball.
I think like you, Jason, and you, Paul, you mentioned the level of play now in Scotland, especially at AAA level. I think that tournament play like this, the more that we can go to, the better that benefits the standard of play in Scotland, because I think you probably learn more playing a few innings down there in Farnham Park among some of the best players in Britain than you do in a season of Scottish baseball to an extent, like in a lot of ways. I think, you, Paul, going down there and coaching in such an environment, that's got to be a learning experience and a half for you as well.
Absolutely. I mean, some of the players we're facing in there, Liverpool Trojans were just an all-star team in the north of England. Some fantastic players. I mean, God, I've promised them we'll go down and play again, because they showed us the respect of not playing to the time limit. Like, they could have wasted time and won that game, but they didn't. And I spoke with Ian Blease in the pub afterwards, and he said they had too much respect for us to do that to us. And I kind of promised, well, let's try and make this we'll make it a proper game of baseball. We'll come down to you in March or something and play it properly. But we came up against Essex Arrows, who are a National League team. We didn't get a chance to play the Mets because of the way the rain kind of changed the format, which I'd have loved to have done. I don't think we'd have won, but I'd love to give it a go.
But when you get to that level, I mean, they're paying players to play on their teams.
No,
So that tells you at the point. They're still paying guys to show up and play for them. They get a chunk of change.
It's a good test for their guys. It really is.
I mean, the facilities look amazing, and I was speaking to John Linton about it, and he said actually his favourite part was just sitting in the dugouts and just having the dugout, simple thing, but just with the stuff we don't have access to here, it's absolutely for me personally. I would love to visit there one time, so I'll probably be throwing in my name, and depends what kind of season I have, mind you. I could be batting for nothing come July. Yeah. I know you're all right, Danny, you stay in the house, but I definitely want to do that in the future. At some point, that would be amazing. Thanks for the offer there, Paul. Cheers.
Paul, if I can just cut in, Danny, with another question regarding this. Paul, you've indicated that you want to put a double A team together to go down next year as well. Is that looking like a real possibility for next year?
If we can get the player numbers, there's 3 divisions at the Baseball Summer Cup. If the VBF holds it again, I would absolutely try and get a team in each division. I mean, there's a cost involved with that, but we'll talk about that at the league AGM because it is covered by the clubs. If we can send 2, maybe even 3 teams, then I'd love that. That is the goal. It might not happen because obviously the finances to think about and players to commit. But if we can, I would love to have a representative team at each level in that tournament.
Ideal, man. Now, before you move on, Danny, we've got a few comments here that I want to quickly go through. First one, Mark Joss. Good evening, lads. Good evening. And my favourite comment for Mark, my good buddy, my fellow New York Ranger fan, says, Mona John. Thank you so much, Mark. Mark had a massive field hockey game at the weekend there. His team is challenging for the top of the table in his hockey league, so all the best to Mark the rest of the way. Josh Trout, our old friend Jason, Josh says he's just here for the accents. You're getting all of them. You're getting Ouija, you're getting East Coast. Hope you're enjoying this, Josh. Stephen Loudon says, all the best, John. Yankees are still rank. Any comment there, Danny?
I've got nothing to say. Nothing at all. No. To be fair, they have been absolutely horrible.
League umpire Robert Dolan says, frankly, the best baseball I've umpired in years was AAA, and to top it off, never had a Grand Slam ever. Lucky old Blue. So I think he's referring to the final. So that's Robert's comment. That's all the comments from now, Danny, as you were.
Great, brilliant. No, I think we're kind of coming to the end. There are a few people that I want to shout out, but I'll do that at the end. Just looking into the sort of off season, Paul, I guess I'll get your ideas on what does an off season look like for the club president? Is it RuPaul's Drag Race marathons? Is it swearing at Diamondback fans? How do you sort of decompress after a long baseball filled summer?
I'm not going to talk about I don't know if it'll be good season. A lot of late nights, a lot of tears.
Fair enough. I want to shout out. So, firstly, who I forgot to shout out at the when we were speaking about the awards was that we had our own umpire elected into the Baseball Scotland Hall of Fame. Bill, forget Bill's second name, just
Dan
Bill.
Sheldrick.
Bill Sheldrick.
Like, see, he's just Bill.
Just
Bill
don't call him
Umpire.
William. Don't call
What?
him William. Do not call him William. I have tried to call him William at least once a year in the 11 years I've known him. He shuts that shit down, and I swear to God, his strike zone gets that little bit bigger every time I do it.
I remember the first year I was playing and I went up to bat and somebody in the Galaxy shouted at Bill, he's like, don't walk him, Bill, he's a Red Sox fan. And Bill's like, I don't like that, my stepdad's a Red Sox fan. just made me laugh the whole bat. I think I get struck out. But I love Bill. Don't call him William or a Red Sox fan, you'll be fine. But as his episode in Ballcaps Bagpipes is probably one of my favourite, and he is consistently, he's done so much for the sport here in Scotland. But I said to Bill on the night, and I maintain it, that Bill, for me, I'm a short guy, obviously. He never calls the high strikes on me. So for that, I will always love Bill and champion him and back up his election into the Hall of Fame. The other person that I wanted to shout out is Craig Waddle, Gold Glove catcher for the Single A Comets. Craig is just on the precipice of publishing a book called Baseball in Glasgow, Baseball and What It Means to Be a Glasgow Comet. But what it is, the book is essentially Craig's a very talented photographer, and he's taken a lot of pictures of AAA games, and he's pretty much compiled this, trying to get a representation of the whole league from a Comets perspective, but it has pictures of Tapor and Aberdeen and Edinburgh and everyone else in it. So just a wee shout out for his book, which is getting published in a couple of days. If you want to check it out, go on to Amazon. Again, it's called Baseball ... in Glasgow ? So big up, Craig. I hope the book does well. Looking forward to seeing that, and I will accept my PayPal charges that you said you would give me to promote your book. So I'll send over the details. Guys, this kind of brings us towards the end. But John, I want to come to you. As it sort of started this podcast, and obviously you're now handing it over quite, ill-advised to myself and Jason to take forward. How's the journey been with Ballcaps and Bagpipes?
Oh, wow. It's been great, man. Like, the first season we did it, I think we started late on in the year. I think it was like a year and a half in the making by that point. And then we kind of did a short kind of pilot run in the 2019 season, which I felt was a really great launching pad for what the show's eventually turned into. The opportunities that we've had have been amazing. We've been on other podcasts. We've met some amazing people. And we were part of the Negro League fundraiser as well back in 2020 during that awful year that we all had. Jason and I had this really amazing highlight toward the end of it that, we still have friends from then. In fact, we spent a night out in Glasgow with David Holden, our buddy over in Toronto. He came over to Glasgow and we hung out with him, and he's an absolute delight. I would never have met David if it weren't for the show, if it weren't for the Negro League fundraiser. Just going from ballpark to ballpark week to week as well these last 5 seasons, and having people come up to me that I didn't really even know. People that I'm like, don't quite know who this person is, because we only play each other a few times a year, and as the season goes along, people come and go. Just having people come up and be like, oh, the show was good this week, or, who's on the show next week? When are you having me on the show? It's such a nice thing to have happen, and it kind of started to feel like we had actually made a difference in terms of promoting, awareness of Scottish baseball, and that was what it was all about, really. And it was a chance as well to still have Jason around. That was a massive part of the draw for doing the show for me, because I don't think it's any secret that Jason and I have been close for a very long time, despite being on opposite sides of the diamond, at least on paper. Most of the time, in practice, it wasn't quite that way. Yeah, the first season that I played, actually, I played more games, or I think it was as many games as a Canon as I did a Glasgow player. That was my first year in 2013. So yeah, it was a chance for me to kind of keep in touch with him and keep him around the game, because he's a Hall of Famer for a reason. He's been an enormous part of Scottish baseball. So to do this with one of my best buds in baseball has been a great experience. It's gotten me through some tough times as well with my mental health, which a lot of people maybe don't know so much. Particularly in the aftermath of the pandemic, I struggled quite a bit with my mental health and shit. So doing the show every week was a way to sort of put that to the side, or put that to the back of my head for an hour and just talk about baseball. That was kind of therapeutic for me. So the journey of the show has been amazing, and I think it's only going to get better next season with the 6th season with yourself in charge. I think I have full faith in your ability to take this even higher than it's been. So yeah, what else can I say? It's just been a great experience.
I have some big 5.5 shoes to fill. I don't know if that's your shoe size. I'm taking a guess now. But I'm trying to do you proud. Do you remember who your first ever guest was in Ballcaps and Bagpipes?
Jake. It was Jake for the Galaxy.
It was. I was your second, and that is why I've never forgiven you, and why I've played the long game to eventually take over this podcast.
You've got 2 parts, though. You've got 2 parts.
So I
more than made it up to you.
You did. I just when I got off the phone, that was a problem. It's been an absolute pleasure once again to catch up with you guys. I don't know if Jason or John, you've got any questions for Paul that I missed out?
No, I think we're all right.
No, that's more or less it for me.
Yeah, we're going to see him in like 4 months when we say, okay, so it's been the off season. What have you done?
Yeah. You want answers and action immediately, Paul, right now. It's February. No, Paul, it's been an absolute pleasure to catch up with you once again. Thank you for all you've done for the league for another year. Looking forward to next year. Thank you for the invite down to the Cup next year as well. Really appreciate that. All in all, brilliant episode, guys. Thanks so much for joining in today. Have a lovely off-season, and we'll be back next year with another episode.
Danny, I will see your ass in spring training in February.
Yeah, looking forward to it. Cool,
Back to it.
Take it easy. All right. Good night, guys. Cheers.
Night, y'all.
Before we go, Jason West has a comment before that. Peggy says, cheers for the plug. And Jason says, great speaking points, guys. John, best of luck to you in your future endeavours. Thanks so much, Jason. Looking forward to seeing more great things from you and Caps and Pipes as well with Danny's new tash. Oh, you have to keep it, Danny. That's it. It's
coming off, and well, I don't know, man. It's if it makes me I get compared to Matt Gill, and if it gives me the batting average and the speed of Matt Gill, then I'm going to keep it. But I don't think it's going to be that. So it'll be coming off in December. But cheers for the compliments, Jason. I appreciate it, man. Take it easy, guys. Cheers.
All right, John, you got to sign off for your last final time. Sign off the way you got to sign off. Come on.
Hey, remember that time Bobby Bonilla single-handedly won us a game of the Bump Bailey Wax Pack Heroes Tournament of Awesome?
Exactly.
My boy, Bobby Bonilla.
All right. Till next season, guys.
Yeah.